Hello, greetings. Welcome to our third class of factorization. So here we are on the third class. We are going to look into the trinomials and also grouping in pairs. Okay. Now, here is the question that we have here. We have got the normal trinomial, advanced trinomial, and also we're going to also factorize by grouping. But what is the normal part? The normal part is that the coefficient of the y squared here is actually 1. But whenever the coefficient of the first term there with the higher order one is not 1, then it means that it's an advanced one. Now, how would you solve this? I want to teach you a method where you can relate from this normal one to the grouping one, okay? So that you can understand this whole thing, okay? So here in this case here, when you are solving such questions, what you need to do, first thing is to multiply the first term and the last term, okay? First term and the last term. Now, when you look at the first term and the last term, you're going to get negative 84y squared. Then the second step here is to find factors of a negative 84y squared. Okay, those two factors, you need to find those two factors so that when you add those factors, you get negative 5. And when you multiply those factors, you get negative 84. Let's try to check something here. Okay, now if we are to find the factors, you say 84. So for example, you're getting 84, then 84 equal to, then you say shift fact. Okay, so when you see that, you can see that is 2 to the power of 2 times 3 times 7. So what I can say here is that we have got 4 times 3 times 7, because 2 to the power of 2 is it's 7. Now, when you look at this, it means that the fact that you can have there is that you can have factors of 4 times 3 is 12, 12 times 7, so you're going to have 12 and 12y and 7. Then you can also have 3 times 7. 3 times 7 is 21, 21 and 4. Then you can also have 7 times 4. It's 7 times 4, it's what is it? 7 times 4 is 28, 28 and 3. So it's 28 and also 28y and 3. Now, these factors here are factors of 84. But now we need to check the one that will give us negative 5 if you add. Now, when you look at this, the only fact that's going to give us negative 5 here are 12 and 7. But now, since it's negative, which one should be negative here? We see that this negative 12 must be negative, then 7 must be positive. Then in that case now, we can now say negative 12 plus 7 is going to give us 5. Then if we multiply negative 12y times 7 is going to give us negative 84y squared. Okay, so these are the things that we need to do. Now, after you get your factor, so we can cancel this, we can cancel these ones here. Now, after getting these two factors, you need to replace the middle term. You replace the middle term with the two factors that we have. So here you're going to have y squared. So let's replace here minus 12y plus 7y minus 84. So let me just put minus 84 in that color there, minus 84. That's what we have done here. So we've replaced the negative 5y. Now from there, so this stage now is the same stage that you're going to have when you're grouping. Okay, so in this case now, we are now solving by grouping. So I want you to learn there now, from this point now, we are grouping now. How do we group? We group into pairs. Now, when we are saying pairs, we are grouped these first two terms, these two terms here, and also these two terms here. You group them together. Now, when you group them together, what do? You factorize them separately. You factorize separately. Now, when you factorize separately, what are we saying here? We're going to say, okay, on these two terms here, let's factorize here. We're going to factor out y outside. Then y, because y is common here, and we're going to be left with y, because y squared divided by y or y into y squared is going to give us y, then minus 12. Okay, then y and y we're going to cancel. Then on this second part here, we're going to factor out 7. Then we're going to be plus 7. Then here we're going to be left with y minus 12. Okay, so in this case here, our answers there, you can see that your two brackets there must be identical always. When you after grouping, you must make sure that your two brackets are actually identical. Then in this case here, we're going to be left with y minus 12. We are factorizing now. Then here, y plus 7. So this is the final answer that we have here. Now, under normal, you can also have a situation like this, where the coefficient, yes, is not 1, but we can see that the coefficient here can go into the middle term, can also go into the last term. In this case here, it's now a common factor, highest common factor. So in this case, you can take out 4. Then when you take out 4, you're going to be left with x squared plus 4 into 12 is going to give us 3x. Then 4 into 40 is going to give us 10. So negative 10, negative 10. So in this case now, it becomes a normal trinomial, which we can actually solve using the method that we have learned on top there. Okay, so whenever you're given such things, you must make sure that you factor out the highest common factor. Now, let's look at the advanced one. Advanced, remember what we said, the coefficient here is not 1. So what do we need to do? We're still going to do the same thing that we have learned in the previous in this question here, where we multiply the first term and the last term. Now, 10. So when you multiply the 2, it's going to give us a negative 30x squared y squared. Now, again here, we need to get the factors. Now, when you get the factor, to get the factors, let's go again. 30 equal, then shift fact. You can see that you've got 2 times 3 times 5. So here is 2 times 3 times 5. So we need two factors out of this. So we can say 2 times 3 is 6 times 5. So you can have 6xy and 5xy. Or you can take 2 and 2 on its own, 2xy, and 5 times 3 is going to give us 15xy. Or we can take, you can say 2 times 5, 10 times 3. So it's going to be also 10xy and 3xy. So in this case, these are the three groups that you can have. Now, which one are you going to choose now? You want the one that's going to give you negative 13. How are you going to get negative 13 here? Which one is going to give you negative 13? 6 and 5 cannot give you 13. 10 and 2 and 15 can give you 13. Why? Because if we say 2, we put negative on the 15 there, we're going to get negative 15. Then it's going to be negative 15 plus 2 is going to give us negative 13. And also, if we multiply negative 15 times 2, we're going to get also negative 30. But in this case here, if we say take 10 and 3, if we say negative, we're going to get negative 13. But now, if we multiply the negative there, let's say we put negative here and we put negative here, yes, we're going to get middle number. But if we multiply the 2, we're going to get a positive, which we don't want. So in this case, you're going to choose the middle one. So this is the middle one that we're going to choose. So this is how you actually select your factors. Now, when you get your factors, what do? We replace the factors with, we replace the middle term with those two factors. So let's come down and write down. So we're going to have 10x squared minus, we can even start with the 2xy plus 2xy minus 15xy minus 3y squared. Whichever way you do it, it's still going to give you the same thing. Okay. Now, here in the first two, remember what are we doing now? We are grouping now. We are grouping. Now, in this case also, we grouped here. So grouping. So in this case here, what are we going to do now? We're going to group these two. When you group the first two and also this also. And when you're grouping this, you take with the negative there. Now let's go down and see. Now, when you check in the first two and the first pair, you're going to say, you're going to look at the highest common factor. Highest common factor is going to be 2x. So you're going to take 2x outside. Then you're left with 2x into 10 2 into 10 is going to get 5. Then x into x squared is going to get x. Then plus. Then here 2x into 2xy is going to give you y. Then you close like that. Then in this case here, what is common here is 3y. So negative 3y. So it's going to be negative 3y. We take it out. Then from there, negative 3y into this, you're going to get 5x. Then also the plus y. Because here, y into y squared can give us y. Now you can see that your brackets are identical. Then you can now write down and say, okay, 5x plus y, then 2x minus 3y. This is going to be your final answer like that. So I want you to understand that this method here is actually helps you to tackle any question that you can have, whether it's normal, whether it's advanced one, you can still get it. I know you guys, you are saying, but it's totally, we know that when you get the factors here, we can, let's say for example here on this one here, we can just straight from there, we can just write, okay, from our factors, we can just write this answer there. Yes, it's still correct. But now when you are faced with this kind of a question, it's going to be a problem because you can't have factors directly to put in like that. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Here we are grouping. When you are grouping, remember what we said, you group the two, the pairs, you group this, and you also group this. Now, when you do that, you're going to factor out A on the first two, then you get X minus Y, then you factor out B, you get X minus Y. Then here your answer is going to be X minus Y, then X A plus B. So remember what I said, these two brackets must be identical. Let's move down. That's your final answer. Let's move down here. We can see that we have got 2y cubed, 3y squared. So remember what we said, we group this. Now when you group, take with the negative on this one here, then you're going to take out here y squared because it's common. Then here is going to get you 2y minus 3. Then in this case, we're going to factor out negative 3 because negative 3 is going to go into 6 and also into 9. Now it's going to give you here, it's going to give you 2y, then negative 3 into 9 is going to give you minus 3. Then your final answer there is going to be 2y minus 3, then y squared minus 3. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Next slide. Now on the next slide here, what we need to do again, let's do the same thing with first and last. First and last is going to give us 12 y squared. Now let's look for the factors. What are the factors that if we multiply them, they give us 12. If we add them, they give us 7. There it's obvious we're going to be using 4 and 4y and 3y. Okay, now direct method there to get straight to your answer there, you're just going to put the factors like I said, yes, but also get familiarized with the one that I showed you, the method, the long method that I showed you, where you're going to group the terms and everything. But in this case here, let's just put our two brackets here and see we have got y there, we have got y there. The terms there are plus 4 and plus 3. Okay, so that's your final answer there. Now let's move on to this one here. Here we're going to multiply the first and the last. Then it's going to give you negative 24 a squared. Then let's look for the factors there. What factors that if we multiply them, they give us negative 24 a squared. But if we add, we get 10. So in this case here, we can have factors of 6a and 10a. We can also think of 12 and 2. So 12a and 2a. But 6 and 4, sorry, on this one here. Okay. 6 and 4 there. Okay. Now, but now if we say 6 plus 4 is going to give us 10, but 6 times 4 cannot give us negative. So in this case here, we are canceling this part here. We are canceling this factor here. It cannot help us. But those are two factors, but they can't help us in this case because they can't give us negative. But in this case here, if I ask for us to get negative 24, we're going to say negative on there. We're going to put negative on the 2. So that if we say 12 minus 2, we're going to get 10. 12 times negative 2, we're going to get negative 24. So now we can now rewrite down and say substitute our 10a with 12 and negative 2. Then let's write down that 4a squared plus 12a minus 2a minus 6. So remember, we are substituting 10a with the factor that you got. Then from there, we're going to put out, we're going to separate, remember, group by into pairs, group into pairs. When you group into pairs, you're going to be left with, let's take out 4a in the first pair, then you're left with a plus 3. Then here you're going to get negative 2 outside. Then you're going to get a plus 3. As long as your brackets are identical, then you know that you're coming all right. A plus 3, then here 4a minus 2. Okay, this becomes your final answer. Now, let's look at this one here, where we are getting 6y cubed minus 2y squared minus 54y plus 18. Let's again group them. Let's group them. Remember, you take the negative on the second one. You're going to use it like that. Now, on the first one, we're going to take out 2y squared. Then you're left with y. No, not y only, but 3y minus 1. Then in this case here, you're going to take out negative 18, because we don't want the negative here, we want the negative here. That's why we're putting negative 18. Then when you take out negative 18, you're going to get 3y minus 1. Okay, then from there now, your brackets are identical. So from there, you know that you're coming all right. 3 minus 1, 3y minus 1, then 2y squared minus 18. Okay, so we're taking this one and this one, then we put it in another bracket. Now, that's all what you need to understand, guys, because remember here, we are grouping on this stage. And they can also be given in the exam like this, where you just need to group the terms and solve it. Okay, so you know how it goes. Here is your exercise. Practice this exercise, submit to me, then I will see if you're coming all right. Don't forget to join the classes, and also don't forget to join our Google Classroom, and also share with others. Okay, until next time, guys, thank you so much. Bye-bye.